I didn't mean for my hair to look like this. I do apologize. But it is getting closer and closer to December, which means closer and closer to January and the end of the year. And my goal for 2023 was to get through all of the physical books on my TBR. I still have about 42 books on my physical TBR. And every day that passes, I stare at them and I get madder and sadder, and just the feeling of unfulfillment continues to swell and crest. The metaphor is getting too deep, but I think you know what I mean. These are books that were bought before this year, before 2023. I just don't want to read most of them. Mathematically, if you want to sit there and like punch in a little calculator like I ashamedly just did, 42 books means that in the next 10 weeks or so, I need to read about 4 to 5 books a week. Unfortunately, only 3 of these are graphic novels or manga, so I really don't have a choice here. The goal of this specific video is I am going to read books from my old TBR, and I'm not going to stop the vlog until I get a 5-star read, because unfortunately 5-star reads have been very rare for me. The last 5-star that was not a graphic novel or manga was last month. I read Wool by Hugh, Howey. I buddy read this with Geraldine, and it was an amazing book. I want to continue that series at some point, and I'm very interested in what that author has to write. We're gonna go over to my shelves and I'm gonna show you what we're working with. Scene change. So let me pan you over. So these shelves here and all the way up to Dune are books that are on my physical TBR and that are unread. I'm gonna pick 3 books to start that I think I will love, but also I've put off so long that I might despise them. First one is gonna be Qualityland. We'll put on the screen when I bought this. It says, "Welcome to Qualityland, the best country on earth. Here, a universal ranking system determines the social advantages and career opportunities of every member of society. An automated matchmaking service knows the best partners for everyone and helps with a breakup when your ideal match frequently changes. Peter Jobless is a machine scrapper who can't bring himself to destroy the imperfect machines sent his way, and has become an unwitting leader of a band of robotic misfits. One day he receives a product from the shop that he absolutely positively does not want, and which he decides at great personal cost to return." This reminds me of The Warehouse by Rob Hart, I believe it was. And I think that's the reason I found these two, was because they were so similar. It's from 2017, which isn't terribly old, but it is hung around on my shelves for a while. So let's pick the next 2 books. This one, oh gosh, I forgot that it's so damaged, is Here and Now and Then by Mike Chen, which is a time travel type book. And actually, Sage got me this a long time ago. Thank you, Sage. This one says, "Ken Stewart is an everyday family man, working in IT, trying to keep the spark up in his marriage and struggling to connect with his teenage daughter. But his current life is a far cry from his previous career as a time-traveling secret agent from 2142. After a botched mission, Ken has kept his past secret from everyone around him. Time travel tends to be very existential, so it might be like big sad, but theoretically it should be a 5-star. Like, I feel like time travel, when done well, it can go really well. So I put it off for a long time. Actually, I'm gonna do one that's a little older. This is Hummingbird Salamander by Jeff Vandermeer. The security consultant Jane Smith receives an envelope with a key to a storage unit that holds a taxidermied hummingbird and clues leading her to a taxidermied salamander. Sylvina, the dead woman who left the note, was a reputed eco-terrorist and the daughter of an Argentine industrialist. By taking the hummingbird from the storage unit, Jane sets in motion a series of events that quickly spiral beyond her control. Reason it should be a 5-star read for me is because I loved Annihilation. However, very obviously, only book that I've read by Jeff Vandermeer, and that means that a 5-star for the second book I read by him is not a guarantee. We're gonna start the vlog there. We're gonna read through each of these as much as I can. If for some reason it just isn't feeling like it's gonna be a 5-star read and I'm not going to love it, for me a DNF at this point is gonna be like 3 stars or below. If they're going in that range, or if I'm losing interest, I'm not going to be afraid to DNF and unhaul. Once I've read a bit of one of these, I'm not gonna tell you which one I'm gonna start with first because I don't freaking know. I will touch base and we will talk about it. I read the first 50 pages of Here and Now and Then. It does seem like an interesting story, but it's not what I wanted. It is dealing with a man who obviously gets stuck in the past. He is part of like this assassination group that will go back and will eliminate someone if they are going to really negatively disrupt his future. There are some small technical details that I was really into, but it just isn't what I was hoping for. But I just don't anticipate this being the 5-star read for me. So I'm not going to continue it, and I'm going to unhaul it. I will let you know once I've started another book. So I'll see you soon. I'm very tired. The next book I tried to read was Hummingbird, Salamander by Jeff Vandermeer, and I'm DNFing this one as well after reading 50 pages because there are a few reasons, and a few things that are missing, honestly. So for me, the reason I really loved Annihilation was because it was very high like risk, very fast paced, and it had a lot of really, that was the cat feeder. So it had a lot of like twists and turns, and it really kept you asking like, what the heck is this? What does this mean? Why is this all happening? And it just kept presenting questions. This is very slow paced. It is extremely ambiguous, and I feel like the details that are present are not necessary. It's just very disjointed, even though it's very slow. There are a lot of pieces of information that are being thrown around about hummingbirds in general, which I'm sure for bird lovers is probably very interesting, and not interesting for me. I just didn't care. It felt very much like reading a textbook at times. We are DNFing this. I do want to mention again, doesn't mean it's a bad book, just means that I don't think I need to own this anymore. I could get it from the library if I wanted to. On that note, I'm taking a nap, so you will see me tomorrow when I try to read the next 50 pages of Qualityland. I can't tell you how relieved I am that I can record this and say I'm not DNFing a book. I went to Barnes & Noble and I read there for about 2.5 hours. I had packed a whole bag of books just in case Qualityland did not turn out how I wanted it to. But great news, I went past the 50-page mark while I was there. Not by much, because I was very much like distracted by some couple on their first date, and then I was just like texting people about watching the couple on their first date. It was great. It was a good time. I feel like Barnes & Noble is probably the best place to have a first date. Qualityland, I took off the cover because the inside is like a box, like a package, and I just think that's really quaint. I read up to page 70 so far. The only reason I really stopped is because they were closing soon and I needed to get food. But I think I might stop reading here for today. Can we get to the 5 stars? This book so far is gearing up to be a 4 to 5 star read. I don't see any major problems. If you like Black Mirror, it is reminding me of that episode where you can like see everyone's ratings of you, like in this like integrated AI. So much world building, and it's just so dystopian. Do you want to make a cameo? Come here. Okay. It's also reminding me, you can pose, you can look cute. You look so sad, like I'm holding you hostage. Oh gosh. I love the bentos in the background, just looking so bored. Oh, the beautiful baby. You're so pretty. I know you just want attention and to eat what I'm gonna eat. I will touch base with you once I finish it so we can see if it's a 5 star and we can end the vlog, or if we need to resort back to reading what is in my satchel of books that I have started and need to do something with. So I will see you when I see you. I don't even remember the last time I updated you guys, but we have finished a book. I have finished Qualityland. I just finished it like a few minutes ago, and I'm giving this a 4 stars. So the vlog continues, unfortunately. For me, I feel like a lot of the discussion about politics and about social media and your identity online made it very heavy, like I was falling asleep heavy, like not in a sense that I was learning anything, but rather that you just get really bogged down in the information, where I think that that was good information to have, but it just came in these like very thick chunks where I was just like dozing off. And but yeah, it discusses a lot about AI, as well as, like I said, your identity online and how people perceive you, as well as your data for like social media and companies, how they own your data and you don't really have rights to your own data, which is so silly. It had been signed up, it had been bought to be made into an HBO series, I believe, but it got canceled. It didn't even like go to production, I don't think. So that's kind of sad, but there is a sequel. I don't think I will read a sequel because this kind of wrapped up on of itself. For a book club that is on Sunday and I haven't read the book, it is currently Thursday, I have to read The Spell's Disaster, which is by Tori and Martin. And this is a 2023 release, so clearly it's not technically, it shouldn't be part of this vlog. But because I need to read it very quickly, I'm going to include it here. This is about a potion maker and self-proclaimed messy witch named Morgan. Thinks that she's been hexed at birth. She then drunkenly offers to fake date a woman during the New England Witches Trust Festival. Teen witch meets how to lose a guy in 10 days in this delightfully heartwarming, enchanted romance. If it's just heartwarming, I'm gonna be kind of pissed, but I'm trying to be social. I hate to say it, but I am DNFing this, and I only read like 20 pages, which is way less than I wanted to. There's a few things that I'm just not vibing with in this book so far, and the first one being the absolute way that they're harping on the first scene about how the main character is very drunk, and that's why she like finally gets the nerve to like talk to this girl that she likes. And then when the two are actually talking at like the table and she offers to like be her girlfriend in like a fake capacity, there was no chemistry from my perspective. So it was kind of weird. They acted like they were acquaintances and everyone knew each other, but she wasn't like friends with her, the other girl. And she wakes up the next day and it continues to just keep talking about alcohol, and it just was really annoying in that respect. So like literally the only things that happened in the first 20 pages were she gets drunk, she offers to be a fake girlfriend to someone, she says, haha, you're so funny, and then she wakes up hungover and is like, oh man, I need to like I just drank too much, like that's it. And I was like skipping ahead, I'm trying to see like in the first 50 pages if they talk, and like they do, but it still just doesn't seem like that much chemistry to me. Like it just seems like they just seem like people that know each other from living in town together. So apparently I'm just not meant to go to this book club. So I am DNFing it. I'm not going to that book club. The next two books that I do want to try to read are ones that I've already started. I'm already like a considerable amount into them, but I've picked them up several times and put them down, picked them up, put them down. They are A People's Future History, A People's Future of the United States. This is edited by Victor LaValle and John Joseph Adams, and this is a play on this other book, which is talking about like the United States history kind of stuff. And it is a lot of very interesting speculative fiction, science fiction kind of stuff about near future versions of the world. And I've read about 62 pages, so obviously it made it past that 50-page mark. But because it is a story collection, an anthology, I am having a hard time picking through and actually enjoying them when they are so short. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read the next two stories, which will bring me to the 100-page mark. And if I'm not enjoying those very much, I'm going to DNF it, which sucks. It just is what it is. It's kind of what this vlog is for. The other one is Exhalation by Ted Chiang, and this is just a story collection by this one author. And I was tabbing it up as I went because these stories were really intense and really interesting. I just was like really daunted by this book. So I only read the first two. And what I'm going to do for this one as well is I think I'm going to get to the 100-page mark. And if I'm not feeling it, I'm not feeling it. So, oh no, I remember what happened here. The next story was intensely long. So yeah, I was going to read one more story because the next story is only like 5 pages long. However, the story after that is over 100 pages long. So I'm not gonna do that. But I don't think I could give a story collection 5 stars. So these are the next two contenders now that I've blabbed about them enough, and we'll see where we end up after these. I genuinely don't remember the last time I did a clip for this video, so we're gonna hop back into it because I have still not had a 5-star read since I started this vlog. But let's catch up to where we were the last time I talked to you. I think what I was talking about last was I was trying to read these two books. I had told myself that I would read the next 50 to 100 pages, but I haven't felt an urge to read it, so I'm going to take that as a hint, and I did DNF it. I think at some point I will probably pick it up, but it's going to not be a copy that I own, so we'll see how that goes. And then in Exhalation, I also don't think I read any more. so that's that. I just, again, didn't feel like a strong urge to pick it up at all in the last few weeks. And so I'm going to just trust my gut and put it down and unhaul it, because it's been on my shelf for almost, probably well over a year at this point. After that, I did try to pick up, this actually, I don't know when I tried to pick this up, but I have since DNF'd it. But there was Halfway Home by Hugh Howey. Hugh Howey wrote Wool, which was I think one of my most recent 5-star reads. And so I had high expectations, but this was terrible. Like, I think I was 30 to 40 pages, if that. And this was about a group of teenagers that have been grown on this ship that is going out to colonize a planet, and I hate it. It feels very male gazy. It keeps talking about the awkwardness of like how everybody's naked, and it just feels a little weird and icky. And I lost interest really quickly. I tried to pick it up again at some point and just DNF'd it because I wasn't feeling it. Since then, I have picked up a book, which is actually why I'm starting this vlog up again. And first of all, beautiful cover. This is the naked cover. This is Man-Made Monsters. Our actual cover being this one, and this is by a Cherokee author, chronologically talking about this family. All of them are having some sort of supernatural monster in the form of a white man, or just white people in general, encroaching on their land. And it's like creating like a physical presence. So like, think paranormal, think sci-fi, vampires, Frankenstein, I think, was kind of one of the stories. Like everything you can think of. And I've read this pretty quickly. Granted, I read 62 pages, but considering I didn't complain through any of those 62 pages, I'm having a wonderful time. And it is directly against something that I've said in previous books, but if you put the quote from myself being, if you put a family tree in a book, I don't want to read your book. And look at what we have here, this enormous family tree followed by another family tree. And I decided, I was like, you know, black pages, family tree. I don't know why the black pages had nothing to do with that, but it did make it more appealing. And I was like, screw it, like, there's nothing on here that is making me understand what's happening, so we're just gonna play along. And so far, each chapter is named. It has the name of the person on the family tree and when they're taking place, trying to show metaphorically as well as literally how colonization has changed these people. And it's just really beautiful and terrifying and horrific. And this is technically a YA book, which I don't understand. And I say this every time, but as you can tell, I can't stop talking about it because I'm really enjoying it so far. Seeing the interesting ways that what are like kind of normal horror tropes, like I said, Frankenstein, vampires. There was also just like weird monsters, and like it is interesting to see how it's tied into these stories, and the metaphor itself of like colonizers being monsters and turning some of these people into monsters. It's very beautifully written so far, and I'm excited to keep reading it. I can't say yet if it's gonna be a 5-star, but I'm really crossing my fingers because I need a 5-star read. I feel like at this point I would say it's at least a 4-star, so I feel like it could only go up from here. And yeah, I will see you once I've finished. It's almost Thanksgiving. I'm like in panic mode, even though it's been a few days, only a few days since we last checked in. You might notice that a little bit of my physical TBR, my old TBR, has dwindled because I've decided I need to be more aggressive. I really don't expect to be able to read like 40 books before the end of the year, despite how fast the rest of the year is gone. My work schedule is going to be slowing down, hopefully a little bit. I've been training someone for a few weeks, which was a pretty intense strain on my mental health, and I had some physical health issues going on, but things are leveling out. All is well, but that might be a big reason why this vlog has gone on so long. So we're recalibrating a bit, and I am going at this from a different direction. Not that it really impacts you all so much, but I did want to let you know where I'm at. So first of all, I did forget a book that I read in between. It was technically a new TBR book, like it was purchased this year, but I really liked it. and I did read it. I gave it like 2 or 3 weeks of time. It wasn't a 5-star read, so that's why we're still here. Teacher of the Year by M.A. Wardell, and I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. This one was really fun, and it was about a kindergarten teacher who is Jewish, and I believe he is also neurodivergent, and super sweet, super like excitable, and like he was very sweet. I love that character. And he ends up falling for one of his kindergarten students' fathers. There are a lot of issues and a lot of topics brought up with alcoholism that I wasn't a fan of. I don't like reading about alcoholism in books, not for any specific reason except that I just don't like reading about it. Same like I don't like reading about addiction and recovery and that kind of stuff. So that put a big damper on it. It might have otherwise been a 5-star read for me, but otherwise I already have the next 2 books on my TBR. I'm super into this author's writing, and I'm excited to see what they have next. I did get to read a bit with Michelle, and I'll have like a little screenshot here, but we got to read for some sprints, I think a few days ago, Friday. It was like 2 or 3 days ago, which really helped me get back into the reading and filming spirit. So I read quite a bit during those sprints of Man-Made Monsters, which I'm still currently reading. I unfortunately don't think this is going to be a 5-star read. I'm still very much enjoying it though, so don't want to shoot myself in the foot before we get there. But I'm still reading it. I'm on page 139, and I think just like the physicalness of the book is what's really killing me. Like the fact that it's in my hands and it's a hardcover and it's not so appealing to pick up when it's that heavy. But it's still very interesting. They got away from more of some of like the literal monster stuff, and some of them are literal, some of them are more metaphorical, or like an inkling of something creepy or paranormal happening. So I don't like that it's not as obvious anymore, but I am still enjoying it. And I almost wish that each of these characters, or maybe even like a bigger part of the family, each had their own book. And then I have 2 other things which are part of my plan of reading more books and trying to get closer to that 5-star read. So one of them I actually just started reading as an audiobook, but I have the physical one here, and this is Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel. I read this one, which is one of the only books that I kept physically in the last few years, and it was a 5-star read for me. It was apocalyptic, it was active apocalypse. The cover does not give you what's going on so far. We have 2 characters. One of them is set in I want to say the 1800s, and they've been exiled from their family in London. Some weird things happen, and then it switches to 2020, and we get a whole new set of, so the first one was 1912, now we're in 2020, and I think that the other parts are going to be like all interlinked, because there's this strange sense of time where something has happened in the first section with those characters, and then something similar happened in the second section. I'm being vague because I could give you super detailed things, but I feel like it would spoil it. And I'm eating this up already, if you cannot tell. I have listened to quite a bit of the audiobook, and I'm on page 58, so I've made a bit of a dent there. The next is obviously an ebook, and so I went through, and also so far these are all my old TBR, and so is this one. I am reading Inextricably Tied. I will have the much sexier, much cuter cover here. So this one is a dark romance, paranormal, very smutty book about this character who is a banshee, and she has the ability to touch things, and she sees the history or the potential future of something. And then she also is partnered up with a gargoyle. I do, this author Aveda Weiss has a lot of really interesting works, and they're all kind of interconnected. So I did read a different series earlier this year in which these characters kind of popped up, but they weren't super connected yet. It's dark and sexy, and gonna have a bit of action and mystery and thriller kind of stuff. So I have a feeling that between the time stuff of Sea of Tranquility, the monster indigenous stuff from Man-Made Monsters, and then the sexy paranormal stuff, these should be like hitting a lot of boxes for me, in which I should enjoy all 3 of them pretty well, because I feel like that's something that I don't do anymore as much, but like kind of coordinating books that all are good but different enough that I'll enjoy them all. It helps me enjoy the other ones. So we're in a perfect mess of what could be like a few 4 or 5 star reads. The next time you see me, I will have an update on one of them once I finish one of them, and we will see how that read went. So there's the update for now. I would really love to finish this vlog soon, if only my brain and reading ability was going better. I just woke up. But I have finished 2 more books. I've finished 2 more books. So let's start with the one I finished first. I finished Inextricably Tied. I feel like this had so much potential to be at least a 4.5 star or 4 book, but ultimately it was a 3-star book. It got really heavy into like grief and loss of a partner, and also like just in general like fear of abandonment, fear of loss of a partner. Like there was just so much intensity mixed in, and I know that I've read other books from this series and they've been very similar. It was so much heavier than the other books that I've read in this series, and I ended up giving it a 3-star, which sucks for this vlog. And then I was also able to finish our Sea of Tranquility. Sorry if you hear Bento, she's having a good morning play with the box of toys that she has. You having a good time? You're always having a good time. And it was amazing. It was truly a lovely book, and I think I really do love this book because we were dealing again with different times. You kind of get introduced to a character and then it jumps ahead several hundred years, and it does that a few times, and then you start to see characters that are recurring and you start to build your own sense of like, oh, is this what's going on? Is this who that person is? What does this mean? But at the same time, the reason I did not give this a 5 stars, spoiler alert, is because I feel like there was a lot of chance for it to be more. I think this came out in 2022, and it's very heavy on references to pandemics, and they even reference like COVID-19, and I feel like it was pretty interesting to think of like when the author was writing this. The other part was just that I felt like we got so much, this sounds silly, but how I rate books is very like based on the vibes of it. I'm not going at it from a very literary standpoint, but there were points in which I was like, you could lessen the characterization if you had a little bit more plot. I just wish it was a little bit more full of things, if that makes sense. So I did give it a 4 stars. It's like a heavy, like a 4.5 almost, because I am definitely gonna be picking up Glass Hotel now. I think I'm gonna add it to my Christmas list. I don't even know how many books we are deep right now. Like, do I just keep reading? Do I just keep going? I feel like by the time I'm done with this vlog and find a 5-star read, I know the trend is already old, but goddamn. I have not read anything else in Man-Made Monsters, but I'm not going to DNF it. With that in mind, I believe I have a book ready from the library. Yeah, so Recursion by Blake Crouch is going to be one of my next reads, because this is one of the only ones that I have available from the library. I'm second in line. It actually tried to deliver while I was reading those other 2, but I just didn't have, obviously, time to do that. I do think I'm going to go for one that I'm actually excited to read. So I'm going to read this in the meantime. If I get to Man-Made Monsters, great. But I think I'm going to pick up Meg. It's nice and short. I've seen the movie. I've actually read other books in the Meg series, and so I know this formula. This is about, I believe, a deep sea diver who accidentally discovers that megalodons, like ancient sharks that are freaking enormous, are still around, and it kind of like comes up through this like cold underwater barrier in which they have been thriving, and then it comes above there and now it's in like the normal part of the ocean. So we'll work on this today because I have a 3-day weekend here, and I will check in again when I've either finished this or maybe when we get to this one and finally start it. I am now on page 134, so we're making a good dent. There's like it says there's an epidemic of people that are like they're discovering memories. Like one day they'll just wake up and be like, I remember this whole other life. And there are 2 points of view so far. There's a detective that is in 2018, and he has kind of run into a few different people that have had this weird extra memory, and people kind of consider it to be almost contagious, because once you have this extra memory that isn't your real life, people around you start to also be affected. And then there's another woman who's a scientist, and she's in 2009 or 2008, I think. She is trying to figure out a way to help her mother, who's got Alzheimer's, recover some of her memories. I loved Dark Matter because it had a lot of interesting scientific things. This one took a lot longer to get to the sciencey stuff. And I feel like the only reason I was pulled in to the point where now I'm interested is because of the audiobook. We're kind of in the thick of like, okay, now here's like an info dump as to what's going on, what is explaining these things, and I'm very interested. So it's kind of where we're at right now. This is not going to be a flattering angle. If you can tell, I'm crying. There was just an unexpected fucking huge twist in this book, and I'm just like at a loss. Oh man. I did not expect it to go there. I'm just crying driving. I don't even know if you're gonna be able to see much of my face because it's dark out, but I'm crying again. I'm like in the epilogue. I think I only have like 10 minutes left of this book, but I was like literally doing laundry before this, and I was like, you know, maybe it's just not a book for me. And then it went into the deepest, most existential crisis causing breakdown, and it just it is December 5th. And last night on December 4th, I finally finished Recursion and gave it 5 stars. And I think this is the longest a vlog of mine has ever gone on for, because truly it was just the longest experience, the most unnecessarily long experience I ever had to deal with. And I know it's because I've been going through a lot of like work stuff and life stuff, nothing of it being like to detriment me. It's just, well, the health stuff was kind of bad in the middle. I don't know if I ever talked about that in this vlog. It's been a rough few months, however long I've been doing this video for, but I have finally come to a 5-star read. As you will have seen in clips that are both in this vlog and in my Reindeer Readathon vlog coming out, I was put through a lot of emotional duress during this book because it really made me face a lot of issues around like the concept of the future and just living and existential dread. And it's good. I do enjoy the book in it of itself, but like it also is quite taxing, which is why I put this book off for so long. If it wasn't for how emotionally damaged this book made me feel, I don't know if I would have truly given it a 5-star, because I feel like the true peak of the book happened like 30 to 40% in, and then the rest of the book was quite, it was written definitely in a way that I felt like would have made a good movie. Like it was pretty dramatic, but I will say that because it made me so upset and it made me think and it impacted me, that's why it got the 5-star. So it's another reason why I really don't ever say like that my reviews of books are based in anything literary, or despite having an English degree, it's not really an educated review. It's just an emotional based review. If you're still here at the end of the video, thank you so much for putting up with me. I am hopefully putting on the screen now some stats about how long this took me, how many books absolutely failed to give me a 5-star read, and I'll be honest, I'm still sitting under like 31 books on my physical unread, well no, in my total unread TBR that were purchased before 2023. I feel a little delirious having finally finished this vlog, but I'm really excited that I can finally put this video together. Finally, that is all. I think my hair actually has also basically faded out and changed color since the beginning of this video, so truly the passage of time is on me. All right, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your time, and hopefully you're out there getting 5-star books more often than I am. But yeah, I hope to see you next time. Bye.